Welcome to the August statewide call for Better Ballot, Iowa. We are thrilled that you are here. Building a grassroots movement is really what it means, grassroots. So down in the roots, really leveraging everybody, all of their talents, skills, and energy. I'd like to first turn it over to Lisa, who's going to do an introduction to ranked choice voting. I really appreciate every opportunity I get to have to hear more and more about it. It makes me more articulate than when I'm out talking. So Lisa, if you'd like to take it from here.
Well, hello everyone and welcome to our August meeting. My name is Lisa and I am delighted to give you guys a primer this evening on ranked choice voting. I personally came to ranked choice voting through my love of mathematics. Many years ago now, I was asked to teach what's called the mathematics of social choice and decision making in a class that I was teaching. And one of the topics that really blew me away, even as an instructor, was the math of voting system. So although math was my entry point to ranked choice voting, what I want to talk to you guys about tonight is not math, I'm sorry, but instead a few problems that we have with our current voting system and some of the ways that ranked choice voting could positively impact our political system and our society. So let's start with a little audience participation. You might not be able to see each other depending on the video settings, but you can still play along at home. So raise your hand if you regularly feel worry or dread when listening to news about politics. Okay, you put your hands down. Raise your hand if you frequently vote for the lesser evil instead of feeling like you're voting for a candidate that you really believe in. So lesser evil. Okay, put your hands down. And lastly, raise your hands if you are dissatisfied with the performance of any of your elected representatives. Okay, you guys can put your hands down. So it is amazing. I talk to friends and family who are Republicans, who are Democrats, who are Libertarians, all over the political spectrum. And we can all agree that we are unhappy with what's happening in Washington, D.C. and Congress. We all seem to have different solutions, though. My hope tonight is that I can demonstrate to you that there is a sensible first step we can all take together, regardless of where we fall on the political spectrum, that can move us towards a better system. So this is really a story about accountability. Our elected representatives should represent us. They should work for us, and they should be answerable for the results of their actions. But where does this accountability come from? Why is it so lacking in American politics, and how do we get more of it? So let's start with where accountability comes from. What is the primary tool that we, the people, as individuals, have at our disposal to hold politicians accountable? Is it vast sums of wealth? Is it powerful connections? Not in my case, it's voting. Voting is the great equalizer. If elected leaders fail us, if they betray our interests, we can vote them out. In a political environment dominated by vast sums of money and well-connected lobbyists, voting is the only check the public has on politicians. I contend that the mechanics of how our votes translate into a winner have a strong impact on the outcomes of elections and on what kinds of people we elect into office. The rules, so the mechanics of our voting system, are something that most of us take for granted and might not even realize are amendable. Tonight, I want to challenge you to think about how weaknesses in our voting system can lead to dysfunction and how improvements can lead to better outcomes. Now, the voting system is not the only cause of or the only solution to our problems, not by a long shot, but it is super important, which is why we should take a good hard look at it. Our current voting system is a pick one system. So in mathematics, we call it the plurality system. A lot of people call it first past the post. You vote for exactly one candidate, and that's it. The candidate with the most votes wins. And it seems fairly fair. The main virtue of this system is that it's very simple and it's easy to understand, but that might be its only virtue. Pick one voting systems work great when there are exactly two candidates. But when elections have more than two candidates, things fall apart. So these elections frequently end up with a winner who has the support of only a tiny fraction of the voters. And eventually, after multiple campaigns like this, we end up getting pushed back into elections that only have two candidates. So as an example, let's consider a town in Iowa. Let's call it Centerville. And let's say that Centerville is having a mayoral election and there are two candidates on the ballot. So we have cow and we have duck. And Centerville is populated entirely by animals. All right, day of the election, everybody votes. Cow ends up with 43% of the vote and duck captures 57% of the vote. So with a solid majority, this is a pretty straightforward victory. But like a lot of things, these decisions are not as straightforward as they may seem. There's a lot of nuance that isn't reflected by this election. So in this town, it turns out that duck is actually disliked by most of the voters. That 57% of votes that they earn doesn't mean that 57% of the voters think that Duck is an excellent or even a good mayoral candidate. Many of those voters in Duck's party could never bring themselves to vote for anyone in Cow's party, so they see Duck as the lesser of two evils. And with a solid majority of people in their party, Duck wins the election over and over again, and nothing ever changes. The majority of voters in this town are a captive audience. They feel they have no alternatives. Since Duck is in a town where the majority share his party, there's no real competition. Duck knows they will continue to win, even if the majority of their constituents are unhappy with their policies and with their work. If you guys have ever bought a house or a car or bargained at a flea market, you know that power is in the ability to walk away. If you have other options, if you can walk away, then the burden is on the salesperson to convince you to stay. They need to be responsive to your needs. But most Americans are so politically polarized that the other side is unthinkable. That means that they have no alternative to vote for and no option to walk away. There are only two candidates and one is considered completely unacceptable. What are you going to do? Their vote is a given regardless of the qualities of the winning candidate. Does this create accountability? Let's revisit our little Centerville mayoral election and see what happens when two new contenders enter the mayor's race, attempting to give people more choice. So Horse joins the race, and Horse and Cow have many policies and ideologies in common. And so some of Cow's voters switch to Horse, and Duck and Emu appeal to the same voters. And so some of those votes transition to Emu, and in the end, Cow wins with only 40% of the votes, not even a majority. Two really unfortunate things happen here. First is the spoiler effect, which is a phrase used to describe the presence of one candidate drawing votes away from an ideologically similar candidate, causing a strong opponent of both of them to win. The second unfortunate occurrence was the declaration of a winner. In our example, it was Cow, who earned less than the majority of the votes. This spoiler effect is a really insidious problem, people. No new candidates and no new ideas are willing to enter a contentious race for fear of spoiling the election. Candidates and voters fear that they will draw votes away from a similar candidate and hand the election to a candidate with drastically different ideals. If they do enter the race, voters will be afraid to vote for them. Have you guys ever had anyone tell you, oh, don't vote for so-and-so, you're going to split the votes, they're going to spoil the race? Anyone who values competition should be bothered by this. And of course, this makes the elections more about who you are against instead of who you are for. I want to go back to this image here of this vote distribution and ask, what do you guys think Duck and Emu voters would have done if they would have known that their votes were splitting in that way when they went to the polls? Emu was marginally more popular than Duck. Would the Duck voters still have voted for Duck and been stuck with Cow, who they really didn't like very much? Or would they have switched to their second choice and voted for Emu? On top of that, how accountable will Cow feel to those 60% of constituents who voted for someone else? So what do we do in a situation like this? How do we best represent the will of the people and work towards a winner with a majority of the votes when there are more than two candidates? Do we remove candidates from the ballots? No, people, this is America. We don't take people off the ballots. So one answer is ranked choice voting. Ranked choice voting is a system that lets you rank the candidates in order of your preference. If one candidate earns a majority of those first place votes, then they win. Hooray, we're done. Like, most of the people thought they were a great choice. If not, the least popular candidate is eliminated. If your candidate is eliminated, your vote is transferred to your second choice, to your backup. So you don't have to worry about splitting the vote or throwing your vote away. You rank as many of the candidates as you like, and your vote stays in play until your last choice is exhausted or until someone wins majority support. So let's go back to our absolutely adorable animals here and see what happens to this election under a ranked choice voting system. So in the first round, no one has a majority, and Horse is the least popular with the fewest votes. Right, so Horse is eliminated, and their votes then get transferred over to the second place choices. Right, so of that 3%, 2% had listed Cow as their second choice, and 1% had listed Emu as their second choice. right? So we still don't have a majority. So as the new lowest place vote getter, Duck is eliminated and Duck's votes are going to be redistributed. Right? So a few of the Duck voters listed cow as their second place, but most of the Duck voters listed emu as their next choice. So with 53%, which is a majority, emu wins the election. Without fear of spoiling the election, new candidates can safely enter a race and voters can vote for them without fear of wasting or splitting their vote. This opens the political process up to the possibility of more competition, new voices, and new ideas. These are qualities our political system desperately needs more of. Ranked choice voting does not guarantee more voice or more competition, but it does open the door. Ranked choice voting is also an improvement over the current system. It minimizes the problem of the spoiler effect, it makes a majority winner more likely, and under competitive elections, winners are more likely to be candidates who can build the biggest coalitions and be responsive to a large base. Another side benefit that people don't always know about is that ranked choice voting can incentivize positive campaigning and dialogue between groups who might otherwise not talk to each other. Politicians who are worried about winning people's second place votes don't want to alienate them by attacking their first choice. It makes elections more about why the voters should vote for a candidate rather than making it exclusively about why they should vote against the other candidate. It won't make negative partisanship go away, but it places a check on the worst behavior. Rutgers Eagleton poll compared voter sentiment in ranked choice voting elections versus pick one systems. And in virtually every demographic, voters in ranked choice voting cities reported less negativity in their elections than voters in cities using our traditional plurality system. Ranked choice voting is not an unknown system, and it is spreading across the country. I want to highlight just two of these states here. If you look at the states in light blue, Alaska and Maine, both of the states are currently using ranked choice voting for their major elections. And as you can see from all of the other states who are implementing it in small or large ways, it is too late for Iowa to be the first in ranked choice voting like we are first in primaries, but it's not too late for us to still become a leader in this movement.
I will discuss that, discuss an Iowa example of how ranked choice voting could have benefited Iowa elections. There are several examples I could have used. I listed 3 examples which you could use if any of them resonate, especially with you, where the winner was declared a winner with less than 50% of the votes. 2006 governor Democratic primary and the 2002 Republican primary for governor each had a winner with significantly less than 50%. And in the 3rd congressional district of Iowa for the past 2 elections, the winner had less than 50%, Cindy Axne. Close vote, the Libertarian candidate had more than the difference between the winner, the Democrat, and the Republican. But I'm going to focus on another election. Next slide. I'm going to focus on the 2014 3rd District Republican primary. There were 6 candidates on the ballot. It was a close election, and the top vote getter got 24.7% of the votes. Iowa also has a rule that if in a primary, the winner has less than 35% of the vote, the winner is not decided by the primary, but is decided at the state convention, the party's state convention. So Brad Zahn, even though he got the most votes, was not declared winner. Went to a convention. And if you go to the next slide, you can see how the voting went at the convention. If you look at Brad Zahn was the first place in the first round. He got the most votes. He got 25% of the vote of the delegates, the convention delegates. But at the end, David Young, who came in 5th place in the primary, wound up winning at the convention. He won with 53% in the 5th round of the convention. And he went on and served 2 terms. And this illustrates 2 advantages that ranked choice voting has. If you look at the 5 rounds from the delegate voting at the convention. It shows how votes could transfer from first choices to second choices to third choices until one candidate has a majority of the votes that have not been exhausted. And it would save resources. There wouldn't need to be a convention if the voters could have done it, and the voters could decide who their candidates would be. And if you compare the total number of votes in the primary compared to the convention, and compare that to the number of votes in the general election, 42,000 voted in the primaries, only 513 people showed up for the convention, but more than 250,000 voted in the general election. So ranked choice voting can be more fair, more efficient, and allow the voters to participate, making things more democratic. And the 2014 Republican primary in the 3rd Congressional District of Iowa illustrates many of the advantages of ranked choice voting. If you want to think about why we should learn about why we should move towards ranked choice voting here in Iowa.
Thanks, everyone. My name is Justin Whitty. I live in Johnson County with my wife and 3 kids. And I just wanted to plant a question for later. So if you'd like to share in the chat your answer, what do you think might be the largest obstacle for us passing ranked choice voting in Iowa? Or what do you think might be our biggest challenge? We're curious what your thoughts are and while you're responding. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about who Better Ballot Iowa is. We are a group of Iowans, and we all are here because we really believe in the information that we've presented so far, and we think that Iowa politics could be improved. We think we want to help, and we all see that ranked choice voting can be the next thing that Iowa needs to strengthen our voices and protect our interests. So 5 months ago, a small number of Iowans got together and got organized online to kick off the Better Ballot Iowa. Everything we've done since then has been done by volunteers. People who believe in our mission, people who think that this is important. And that's why it's so critical that we continue to grow and find new supporters wherever they are in the state. We are strictly nonpartisan, and we welcome participants from any background. We're excited to have everyone here. It's important to keep our discussion nonpartisan as we work to build a wide base of support for ranked choice voting. We've applied to be a 501c3 nonprofit, tax deductible. Our mission is educational, and the fact is that many people have never heard of ranked choice voting. And to bring back the question, I think we believe that's our single greatest challenge. And some people might have responded that in the chat. Most have not heard about it, I see. That's many potential supporters, people who would be interested in supporting this, simply haven't had the chance to sit down and think about the mechanics of our elections. And that's to be expected. Iowans know how to keep busy. This isn't a focus for everyone, but we want to make sure that Iowa politicians know that their voters understand what ranked choice voting is and what it is not. And our representatives need to know that they are safe to support legislation to advance this cause. We talk about what it takes to build a successful campaign. There's a danger with this type of work that many movements attempt lobbying and legal enactment strategies and campaigns way too soon. It ends up spending all their energy, and it's a complicated and difficult process that doesn't accomplish much. So we can expect some resistance to this change when it comes to adopting ranked choice voting in Iowa, and it can only be passed through the legislature. So in order to make that happen, we're going to need to find some leverage and leverage the powers that exist. So we can think about our strategy in 2 phases. The first 2 years of this effort is just capacity growth. We need to achieve a critical mass of support, and only then can we move into the second phase of a legal action campaign. For now, our goal is to make our unrelenting progress in our 3 growth tracks. And the animation on this slide is people, money, and endorsements, right? So fairly obvious, we need to grow our people, grow our money, and grow our high-profile endorsements and people who publicly support this effort. In doing this, a lot of times people talk about critical thresholds that are used when you can chart a path of a social movement. And in the past, there have been clear trends where for a long time, there's not a whole lot of progress on whatever the goal is. Then as the education campaign matures and numbers of supporters reach a critical threshold in terms of the population of the percentage, there's then a wave of legislation and action and legal action that comes together And that's what forms the culture that we enjoy today. That's what built our systems. And you can look at women's voting rights is one example where, in the earliest 20th century, the public opinion changed over time and caused laws to change after they built their tidal wave of support. So on the next slide is the growth of Better Ballot Iowa. Already at this stage in our group, we've made some really exciting progress. We're really proud to have worked well together and been able to do what we've done. We've also been connected with this national movement of support for ranked choice voting, and an organization that's called Rank the Vote has helped coordinate a lot of our efforts. There are active campaigns in over 30 states right now. We're Better Ballot Iowa, but there's a Better Ballot Georgia, Alabama, Indiana. There's a lot of attention on this issue right now. And so, even Wisconsin next door is working hard and has a fairly mature effort going on. Many of us have followed what happened in Alaska and the upcoming races that are going to be decided with ranked choice voting there. Lots of lesson learned and lots of opportunity for collaboration. But check out these resources. The playbook that Fair Vote or Rank the Vote has put together is incredibly helpful. They have office hours for consultation and questions. And it's just an awesome resource that's available to all of us, which is amazing that they provide. We are, of course, hoping you can help us. Please do consider making a small donation, of course, for the cost of a cup of coffee. Each month you can help save our democracy. You can be directed to our website and see opportunities to give there, or the code is on your screen now. And thanks for anybody who has in the past or who's considering donating now. We definitely appreciate. That's what helps keeps our engine running. So with that, I will turn it over to Matt, I believe, for the next section.
So at this point, we are running a little bit behind, but we did have a little bit of room for questions. If anybody has questions, I am happy to facilitate.
Matt, there's a question in the chat from Amy Brown. Where else is ranked choice voting used?
Where else is it used? Well, at the end of Lisa's talk, she mentioned, of course, that it's been adopted in 2 states fully for congressional races and also for presidential elections. It's going to be more influential for congressional until enough states adopt it for presidential. A lot of states are using it in local elections. New York City recently adopted it, but it's been in use in Minneapolis for ages. San Francisco uses it. A number of other municipalities, most recently Utah, their state legislature passed a law legalizing it for municipalities to take it on. And over 20 cities and towns throughout the state of Utah have stepped up to do a trial basis, and that could lead to a statewide adoption. It's used in a lot of party primaries. The Virginia GOP used it, and so did the Utah GOP. You'll notice here that I'm naming both blue and red places. I mean, you don't get more blue than New York and San Francisco, and Virginia and Utah GOP is pretty red. So this is an issue that cuts across both sides, and I love getting people on Facebook telling me that it's a secret plot for one side or the other, because I got lots of links to shoot at them. Oh, we have another question
in the chat from Samantha. Can you review for us how the horse candidate for mayor of Centerville was eliminated first?
I suspect that was maybe a joke question, mostly about why Horse was so unpopular. But I could walk through the. Brandon says it's due to scandals. I mean, basically, Horse was the least vote getter. So horses, we can go back for a second. I mean, the mechanics are Horse was the least vote getter, so Horse was eliminated first, and then most of Horse's voters shared ideology with Cal, and so a majority of them went to Cal, and a few of them went to Emu. So the way to think about it from your individual ballot is you vote for your first choice, and then if your first choice doesn't win, it goes to your next choice. You get backup choices. So a couple of other questions. So we got what are ways that we can inform people about ranked choice voting? That is an excellent question. And the answer to that is that we have lots of outreach opportunities where you can go canvas, farmers markets, fairs, local events. We were just at the Adele Sweet Corn Fest. We do online engagement if you're more of a behind the scenes person. Yeah, there are tons of options. And we also do phone banking. So please, if you're interested, let us know when we go to the breakout rooms. How could we get it at Republican primaries? That is a possible strategic decision we could make, is to try to convince the two parties to adopt it. That's something we're considering. Certainly, the Democratic Party had a lot of logistical problems in the last primary in the caucus. So, having a simple ranked choice ballot could clean things up, and the Republican Party would be another excellent contender given their history of contentious primaries. I think that is all. So we should move on. One quick thing, just to remind people, if you haven't signed in, please do so. If somebody could drop that link. And we're about to go into breakouts. And also, if you haven't donated, please do. But now we're going to go into breakout rooms. So if you could progress to the next slide. Tonight's meeting, we've got 3 breakout rooms. The first 2 depend on sort of your skills and interests. If you're a front of the house person, if you like to go around shaking hands, door knocking, and making phone calls, that's an opportunity to talk about some of the volunteering that we're doing at that end. If you're more of a behind the scenes person, if you've got technical background, if you like to help with social media, that sort of thing, that's going to be room number 2. And if you're not sure you want to volunteer yet, or you're not sure about ranked choice voting, you can stay in the main room and we will have volunteers to just talk to you and get to know you.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. That was kind of abrupt on our end. So for those of you that were in my group, it was lovely to meet you and have some time. Now I'm going to turn it over to, it looks like Justin and Brandon.
Thank you. So, events. We are going to be canvassing at the State Fair this Saturday. We're going to have 2 3-hour shifts, one from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., another from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. We are going to be standing outside of the shuttle stops and speaking to people as they are waiting to be hauled off to the funs and joys of the fair. Simultaneously, we will have a separate group canvassing in the Cedar Rapids Farmers Market from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. If you would like to prepare for that with a pitch training, if you have not yet, or if you want to have a refresher, we are going to have a pitch training session tomorrow at 8 p.m. And it'll only last for half an hour. And if you can't make that one and you want to prepare for future events, we will also have one on the 25th at the same time, 8 p.m. And and then after we gather all of these signatures this Saturday, if you would like to help us contact these people and welcome them into the organization and try to figure out what they would like to be doing if they are interested in volunteering, you can sign up for our call parties on Monday and Tuesday. Those are from 6 to 7 p.m. As well, if you can't make those, you can just contact us and you can go on your own schedule anytime 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. And finally, we are going to have an online social for everyone to get together and speak with all of your ranked choice vote Better Ballot Iowa buddies, and hopefully let some new people get to know everyone as well on the 27th at 7 p.m., which is slated to go for an hour, I believe, but we can make that longer and shorter as people would like. If any of those things are of interest to you guys, you can just click that little link right there to our website calendar, to our website, and on there click the calendar tab, and then from there you can sign up for any of these things. And additionally, If you have any ideas of your own, by all means, just send us an email and we will gladly take your idea and do what we can with it. Does anyone have any questions?
I think there was a question about the if we're doing phone calls or emails as well for supporters.
Yeah, I can take that one quick, Justin, if you want.
Go ahead.
So right now, Darrow, we we're not set up for texting people quite yet. Matt has been working on emailing people who join, and so we're still kind of like fine-tuning the timing and handoff of that process. But if that's something that you're specifically interested in, I'd recommend that you touch base directly with Matt Wetstein.
Yeah. Yeah, if I can, yeah, I can say that among one of the tasks that's one task too many for me, emailing supporters and things, something that I can be involved in, but I would definitely love help. So if you're interested, we could set up a time to chat.
Awesome. Brandon, did you want to make a final pitch before we close out?
Oh yeah, I got you. Don't worry. All right, folks. So those of you that know me, you know I'm Brandon. Those of you that don't, I am the man that is responsible for asking you for all your money. But one thing I do want to ask you before I ask you for all your money is, guys, really love all the signups that we've got so far on the sign up sheet. If you can, please make sure you got signed up. That helps us know where we have people located at, so when we make events we can target who's actually going to be able to help out, so we can do more populated events. I'll throw the link in the chat one more time. I think there's like 3 or 4 of them that we're missing, so I really appreciate if you can do that. Now on to more financially pressing matters. So in that sign up link, once you hit sign up, it's going to send you to a bunch of links. You have options to look at our Facebook, our social media, our Square link, which is how you can donate to us. Every time that you donate, it goes towards basically social media. It goes towards funding new tech adventures to where we can actually be more tech forward, and email blasts, things like that. It does not go for coffee and lunch, I promise. It actually goes to things that matter. So if you can, like $5 recurring a month, if you're not gonna mix or miss that one grande caramel macchiato latte with 2 pumps of cream, you can just donate that to us and we will take that and run with it and do much bigger and better things, I promise. So if you could, thank you so much. And other than that, we're gonna keep this on time so we can get this closed out of here and get you guys on with your night.
Thank you for that. And yes, all of those dollars do help go just keep our infrastructure running. So super helpful, super important, as are the signups to help us grow the movement. So in closing, again, thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you next month. We always get together on the 3rd Thursday of the month. So next month, that will be September 16th. Again, that will be at 8 p.m. As always. And I will quickly drop in the chat here once I get past all our call parties. Oh, thanks, Jacob. There's the statewide meeting. So if you can just go ahead and get signed up for that for September, that would be awesome. We'll see you again. And also, if you want to hang on this call after we've officially closed it out, just to chat and get to know others better or give us feedback, there'll be a handful of us that are going to stay on. So feel free to join us. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.